Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first in the second series of industry support webinars. I'm Patrick O'Shaughnessy, Industry Development Manager, and this is my colleague, Andrew Craig, who's the Industry Development Digital Manager. And this program is a partnership with Business Gateway's DigitalBoost and Visit Scotland. It's designed to help your business bounce back from the enormous challenge that COVID-19 has presented us. Today, we're looking at a few very important digital touch points visitors will surface on whilst planning any trips. We want to give you practical tips that you can implement as soon as you get home. What I would like to point out is that we would really love your questions throughout the whole webinar. So use the control panel to post those, and we'll be keeping an eye on them as we go along. At the end of this session, immediately after closing off the webinar, we're going to show you a survey online, so just hang on. It will give you an opportunity to sign up for a digital review carried out by our knowledgeable and experienced industry relationship managers. It will allow you to check the learnings that you've got from this webinar, to see what you've been able to implement, and also see what other opportunities you might have left on your digital footprint to do. What I would like to touch on is some of the services that DigitalBoost as our partner offers, and these include a new DigitalBoost podcast, which covers off a lot of top tips from digital experts. There are also some other great free local webinars, as well as our specific tourism webinars that we have in this program, which we will be doing on a regular basis right through the summertime. So look out for those, and we'll give you details of that at the end of this. And they also, DigitalBoost, offer some digital resources, so have a look out for those on their website. So my colleague Andrew has a sense of humor. He's also a big film aficionado, and he always has to explain these jokes to me, but he's used these images primarily just to explain that what we're really trying to do is give you some practical tips that ultimately give you bookings. And we're talking about 7 specific tips. So the things we want to cover off today are information provision, reputation and reassurance, social media, search engine listings, search engine optimization, bookings, and discoverability. So just as a little bit of background, this is the 3rd digital fundamentals that we've delivered, and we want to change each one of those to take in the context of how our visitors have changed over the recent period. And what is very clear is that certain things have changed, but the pace of digital adoption and technology over the COVID period has meant that people are looking for huge convenience. They want to be able to do something online immediately. So online bookability is going to be very important. That personalization, they are expecting things to be tailored for them, and that you need to sort of start looking at how best to understand your visitor and how you deliver your messages to them is going to be very important as we go forward. It's fair to say the environment is still very challenging in that people's confidence really underlines how well our bookings are coming. So our most recent visitor sentiment shows that 54% of UK businesses or UK visitors are considering booking over the summer period. What's very interesting that just 34% of those have actually made a booking so far. So there's 45% of those people who are intending still looking to make those bookings. So opportunities for you to get your marketing right even now to influence the bookings that are coming over the summer. So that also shows, and it's something that our conversations with the large online travel agents, they're also seeing a trend of very last minute, to the point that they've now delivered, in some instances, products which allows businesses to push out offers on the day of departure by mobile. So people are literally looking at their mobiles as they leave to go away for a weekend to check out what accommodation they're going to change. So throughout this session, we're also bringing out things like the importance of giving information. So that with all of that technological adoption, people are consuming so much information, but you must also try and give them the content that they want to see. If, for example, as I was looking at the news last night, a picture of another surge testing happening down south, I was amazed to see in the queue of people going in to get a test, practically every single person's on their smartphone. They're all consuming things. They're all looking for information. It's so important that you give that information. And one of the things that is really important to do, and Andrew will touch on this later on, is give people information about the health and safety procedures that you've implemented. That's shown, our research has shown, that is extraordinarily important. So do, as we look around the countryside and look at websites, we're actually not seeing an awful lot of evidence of that reassurance being given. So some tips later on to cover that off. So without further ado, I'll introduce Andrew to do the next stage, and I'll be back to talk to you about our social media.
Thank you very much, Patrick. So let's start things off with the information that you're giving to customers and potential customers. The information you share with potential customers will play a significant role in their decision to become paying customers. Recent research from Google actually has found that cleanliness and hygiene are now the highest consideration when planning travel, alongside price, of course. So first question I would ask you is, what are you doing to get that message across? Well, you should ensure that your potential customers are aware that a visitor or a guest experience at your business will be as safe as it can be, and that hygiene and cleanliness are top priorities. And I'm going through some very good examples here from Wild West, from Ben Alder Estate, from Blue Wild Boats, the one that you just saw on the screen, which is a very good message in social media, from Forestry and Land Scotland, with a key banner at the top of the page, which I'll mention in just a few minutes. So what I'd say is, how does that relate to what you have on your website? Make sure that you're giving the key information, easy to read text, split pages into appropriate headings if necessary, and put the most important information at the top around making a booking and around any sort of COVID-related links that you want to put up, or any sort of things that guests need to know about before they prior to arrival. And I'll distribute later on a very handy checklist from Business Gateway that gives some tips and hints on how and where you should be keeping your customer. I'll distribute it via the chat functionality, or where you should be keeping your customers up to date. So I'll put that through the chat later on. One very easy way to do this is with Google Optimize, and I've put a little screenshot at the top of what you can see at the top of the screen there, and you can now add a banner. That allows you to add a banner to the top of your website that allows visitors to see immediately any key message that you want to pass on. You can select which pages of your site the banner should be shown on. For example, perhaps only the home page or on every page of the site. And you can also customize the color, size, and text on the banner so that it matches your own specifications, your own marketing. Perhaps even consider having a dedicated, you can see there's a little example from the Chocolatarium of that banner at the top of their page, matching the format of their own website. Perhaps even consider having a dedicated page on your website that enables you to link from social media, Google Posts, and other PR to continue driving web traffic. The Chocolatarium, for example, does this extremely well as an attraction in Edinburgh. with injecting just as I would say the right amount of humour in terms of what they're trying to get across to potential guests. Make sure that you communicate any business updates via email. Give updates to your employees as well as customers, and make sure that the local community knows about any steps that you're taking as well, so that they can tell guests or visitors to your area about these precautions that your business might be taking during this time. And then from moving on from that to the perspective of reputation and reassurance, I would want to say here that the reputation side of things shouldn't be, and maintaining your online reputation, it shouldn't be a reactive tool. It's a very important lever to maximize conversions and bookings. And I suppose as we look through a few examples here, the key challenge is keeping your eye on the three, I think, main platforms where people leave reviews: Google, TripAdvisor, and Facebook. And then you could probably add Booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb onto that list as well if you use online travel agents. One thing I would say here, if your customers leave a complimentary comment on one of those review platforms about the safe, clean, hygienic experience that they've had at your business, you've struck gold. You should promote any such testimonials as much as you can on your website, in your social media, and make sure you're responding to as many reviews as possible, but especially those good reviews where they're promoting your hygienic, clean business practices. That is really key. I suppose with that in mind, you might ask the question, well, how are we supposed to manage all of these review sites? As a business, you can't really keep track of reviews if you're just dipping in and out, sorry, of these platforms. You need to stay on top of them. So there's a few options you have which will help you do that. One of the free options actually is Google Alerts, a free tool that helps you monitor the web for mentions of your brand name. And actually at this point I should do a wee promo. We have another webinar coming up on managing your business reputation and why it's so important, even more important in fact now in this sort of hopefully post-COVID world that we're now living in Scotland, more and more post-COVID world. And that's taking place on the 28th of June. And you can look out for that on VisitScotland.org and sign up. You can see all the information is available on VisitScotland.org. So as I say, Google Alerts, free tool that helps you monitor the web for mentions of your brand name. You can use it to check for mentions where there are perhaps no links to your website, and see if you can get this changed. And then we have a few paid options as well. Hootsuite is primarily aimed at managing your social media content and comments and responses, especially reviews on Facebook. BuzzSumo is for trends and content ideas and discovery. Sprout Social is for social media and review responses. It's integrated with Google My Business, TripAdvisor, and Facebook. Brand24 is for brand mentions across social on news blogs and forums. And then finally, Reputation is a response platform that's solely aimed at hospitality businesses. So there's a few options there that you might want to take into account and and consider, just from the perspective of helping you respond and make sure you're on top of reviews and content that people are posting about your business online. So the question is, why do you need to do that? Well, the figures on screen demonstrate how much visitors and guests value the user-generated content of their peers, of their friends and family often. That 87% figure that you see on screen there is the current average for TripAdvisor's positive restaurant reviews. It's a jump from 78, which is what it was prior to lockdown. And actually, there's been an emergence, to go back to the whole COVID-19 reassurance side of things. There's been an emergence of COVID-19 related reviews, a new sentiment, especially on TripAdvisor. Those are mainly related to restaurants at the moment, and they're mainly positive, kicking in at around 68% positive reviews, with ratings currently averaging at 4.3. So with that in mind, I suppose the question is, how do we reassure our customers in terms of the practices that we are taking? Well, to continue on the theme of TripAdvisor, they've just not too long ago introduced their travel safe tools. If you're not aware of them, TripAdvisor describes them as tools that allow consumers to find, filter for, and validate health and safety information to make customers feel more confident with their future travel choices around the world. Sure, I suppose it gives customers the ability to quickly work out who's taking COVID precautions seriously, and you as businesses can now select safety measures that you have in place at your property by accessing the checklist in the TripAdvisor management centres. Is free of charge, and that enables you to submit a text description of the steps you're taking to protect customers, including links back to safety information on your own website. That's quite a rare thing in many cases for TripAdvisor to allow links going back to a business's own website. Now, in a recent consumer sentiment survey TripAdvisor just published, these were three of the key stats. More than 9 out of 10, I think it was 92%, said that cleanliness is the most important factor in selecting accommodation. Over 80% said that cleanliness or hygiene certificates are important when booking a travel experience. And almost 80%, 79% said it's important to publicly display compliance to safety standards, especially government safety standards. So to paraphrase all that, be safe and tell the customer that they're going to be as safe as possible as well. Because unlike previously, if businesses are not telling customers this, their customers are less likely to give you and other tourism businesses the benefit of the doubt. In actual fact, I did a check not too long ago. I did a check for restaurants in Aberdeen that had, and you'll see on the screen there, the TripAdvisor, one of the top filters I've got is restaurants taking safety measures. And as you see, there are 539 restaurants listed in Aberdeen, but as soon as I tick that free option for restaurants and restaurants taking safety measures, it jumps down to 22 restaurants that have got that selected. Now, I'm sure that doesn't actually match the reality, but it's a very easy thing that businesses can do free of charge, something for you to consider. And in this huge, I suppose, need for reassurance, use all the tools that you can at your disposal, including Visit Scotland's quality assurance scheme to promote that reassurance for sense of reassurance for customers. So there's a massive appetite for information and reassurance. There's a pent-up need to holidays we've seen over the last few weeks with the numbers of reservations that we've seen skyrocketing across the country. And the importance of that reassurance and trust is just emphasised by this quote from the late Zig Ziglar. Some people say there's almost a need to overstate our procedures to keep visitors and communities safe and welcome. And you should, I suppose, many of you now, there's over 8,000 on Visit Scotland's website, VisitScotland.com, have the Good to Go, We're Good to Go logo on their Visit Scotland listing. That Visit Scotland offers that in partnership with Visit England, Visit Wales and Northern Ireland. That markers for the reassurance. And Good to Go registered businesses in the UK can log into their online Good to Go account when they set it up, and download the Safe Travels stamp as well from the World Travel and Tourism Council. I'll put a link. You can see there the link to Good to Go Scotland. There's further information when you go to that page on getting on the Safe Travel scheme as well. And as I mentioned, more than 8,000 businesses are already on that the Good to Go scheme. And your logo, that logo, both logos you see there will appear on your listing on VisitScotland.com if you've signed up for those schemes. And if they don't, that's something that you can get in touch with your industry relationship manager about to query. So I think that's enough on reputation and reassurance for now. I'll hand things back to Patrick, who will take us through some key tips on social media. Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, so again, we're just looking at some sensible tips for your social media, and it's fair to say, just before the pandemic, Visit Scotland did a very substantial piece of research which looked at travelers' the decision-making process they make, and one of the most startling pieces was that that visitors makes hundreds, if not thousands, of click-throughs online before they make a decision, and that could be on websites, on social media, on communication, on review research. So that ultimately, what that means to you is you need to make as much effort as possible and within reason to be on as many of those platforms as possible. However, you still need to make a decision as to where your customers are and therefore what platforms you are best to be on. And I think it's fair to say our experience is Facebook is by far the biggest, so it's a good one to start with. Instagram, with its visual, is one that works very powerfully for us, and it's one that we use quite a bit. Twitter is slightly more specialist. It has grown over, certainly since the increase in interest in presidential affairs over in America. The sort of volume of interactions on it is much more, but it does require a different approach. But I suppose fundamentally what we're saying is that try and tailor your posts for each individual channel. It's so easy to think I've got a product to sell and put it on every channel, but the way to think of is what type of person is on this platform. Try and get a sense of who they are, what age they are, whether they're male and female. And each of these platforms all offer a really good insights element, which will allow you to get that information, to at least start getting that information as you go along. A great saying which my colleague, our social media manager, uses, which I think is really powerful, and she says, content is king, but engagement is queen, and we all know who is in charge of the house. So what that means is it's about, so often we're creating great content on social media that actually engages with our audience. What is total marketing gold is the opportunity to then engage with those people in such a way that they start to feel an affinity with your business and your brand. So always look out for that, never ignore it. It's a bit like someone making a statement in a conversation and you completely blanking it. That's the sort of social media equivalent of not responding to any such engagement. So, and there's also at the moment being really aware of things are very, very challenging. Lots of visitors have gone through really tough times, whether that's been furloughed for a period of time, whether that's in fact maybe redundancy, or maybe been ill or had some really life-changing incidents to them. So try and correct your tone or add your tone such that it empathizes with people in that way. So show a degree of empathy, show a degree of hope, and always appear welcoming and friendly, as well as displaying a concern for your local community. These are really strong elements to start building into your normal posting. So, and it's also really important to be consistent. It's challenging, I know, to remain posting on your social channels, but it's about knowing what works for you. And even if it's once a week, or even better, maybe once a day, do that consistently. Because the one thing the social media algorithms really appreciate, they love consistency. And in terms of content, create a series of posts, try and get some images, build up a bank about your business, about your customers, include them in your posts, and your employees. Really good content to talk to now is we've all had to change, all businesses have had to change. Try and communicate those to your audience. So stuff like if you continue to do a delivery service, or whether you've adopted business practices or hours to allow for social distancing, inform your audience. Continue on that point of hygiene and safety. Make sure you showcase the sanitization efforts that you've done, such as installing cleaning stations, or the frequency within of clean downs that you're actually doing. And also share how your employees are at your businesses, how they're reacting to COVID, that they're wearing masks, and what implementation of training that you've done. These are all things that are really of interest to our audience, to your audience, and done in the right way. It reassures them in a lot of ways. And don't look for any positive things that are locally happening. Using your social channels to update people on what is open, what great new things there are to enjoy is some of the content we know our visitors are looking for. And here's a few themes that we within Visit Scotland. There's some really great resources on VisitScotland.org that you can utilize if you're struggling for some content. Only in Scotland is a hashtag which can be used on Instagram and on Twitter. It doesn't really work that well on Facebook. Be bold in your messaging, make statements, join in any conversations, get back to that statement of engagement. And if you are going to use any images that your visitors have created, make sure that you ask permission for you to reuse them, and do reuse them. We have a further going back to the importance of locality, how people have up to 59% of people in the UK are now saying that they've bought local. Sustainability and responsible tourism has really risen up the ranks in terms of people's awareness, and they do want to see that in their booking decisions. So we've put together a whole raft of responsible content that you can use. Our main hashtag is respect, protect, and enjoy. There is a brilliant video that is on VisitScotland.org about keeping Scotland special, called "Let's Keep Scotland Special." You can access it on YouTube if you just want to research it and reshare it. We've put together a visitor promise. Again, it's on VisitScotland.org. We'll give you the link at the end of this session. That really shows what we are looking from our visitors, reassures our local community that it is very much about keeping our beautiful country in the way that it is, so that it is right for generations to come. Zero Waste Scotland have brought out an excellent tools, again, around keeping. It's called Scotland is Beautiful. Let's keep it that way. And they've used the comedian Jane Godley in one of the videos. So again, that's something to search on Google for and reuse in your in your content on social media. Likewise, we've also doing some influencer work with several individuals. We're using the hashtag Hametown Tourists. We're working with Callum McLean and Christina Miller. And just as a final piece for those of you that are looking for a little bit of inspiration on content, I'd like to share with you, I think we've already said in our question responses on the control panel, but we'll be sharing the complete presentation with you. So this slide here, which shows our activity planner for the year right through to the end of autumn, you might like to look at. It's a lot to take in just now, but it's, again, will be useful for you for any content for social media. So thank you for that. I'll now change over to Andrew to talk to us about search engine listings.
Thank you, Patrick. So for this part of today's session, I hope you can all see this screen okay. For this part of today's session, I want to specifically focus primarily on Google My Business and a little bit on Bing Places too. So first thing to say is check how your business is. When was the last time that you checked how your business is listed on Google? Have you claimed and verified your Google My Business listing? Have you given as much information as possible in the knowledge graph? You can see, I'm showing on the screen just now, the knowledge graph, for example, is Glenmore Lodge up near Aviemore. And they're doing reasonably well. They've got some events showing. They've got their contact details displayed. They've got reviews shown from both Facebook and from Google. Although when I did look, there weren't many responses, if any, in fact, to the reviews. Are you displaying availability and booking options? I'll come onto that a bit more in more detail later. And as mentioned, respond to reviews, good and bad. Although Google reviews were on hold during the initial lockdown, that doesn't seem to be the case any longer. That in doing so also lets Google see that you're inactive when you're responding to reviews, lets Google see that you're an active business, and make sure any questions that have been asked have an official answer from your business and not just a local, in this case, a local guide or a local person. They should have an official response. In this case, Glenmore Lodge hasn't done this so well because they haven't given a response to that question. Make sure you're, especially just crucial just now, that your reopening details, if that's appropriate, are displayed. If you've got new hours related to your business hours having changed, perhaps maybe not open as much as you were previously, or curtailed hours, update those times as well. If you have to temporarily close for whatever reason it might be, if there's if your area that you're in moves back into level 3 or 4, hopefully not, but then Google has enabled the ability to post a temporarily closed message on your business description. Make sure that there's details about the extra precautions that your business is taking, services you're offering to the community at this time, and consider updating your attributes, if that's applied, to more accurately sort of represent your operations under the current circumstances. Perhaps if there's changes related to your amenities, if the cafe's closed, or if visitors have to book online, for example, as well. And create a post, share what's new, share more directly with your communities about what's currently going on at your locations. Google Posts, highly recommended. You can include photos or video content on those posts as well. And then finally, any offers, if you've got any special offers, those can be updated and added to your Google Knowledge Graph as well. And then don't forget Bing. That's the default search engine on most Windows devices. It's heavily used in North America, so perhaps not so relevant just now, but it's certainly the default search engine as well for Amazon's Alexa speakers, If you already have a Google My Business listing, here's a wee pro tip. You can actually import your details from Google My Business directly to Bing, and it will sync at regular intervals. Just as a wee aside here, incidentally, conversions from both Google My Business and the Bing knowledge panels, knowledge graphs, increased significantly, about 3 times higher after the first lockdown, with many visitors choosing visit website or call as opposed to directions. So make of that what you will. Visitors obviously want to find out key information before choosing to come to visit your business. So moving on to something that some of you might find a bit daunting, search engine optimization, and it kind of relates to what I've just been discussing around Google and making sure your information's up to date there. Search engine optimization, or SEO for short, as I say, can be a tad daunting, and some of you may wish to leave it up to your website developers, but it's good for everyone running a business to have a general idea of what SEO is all about. It's about increasing the number and the quality of visitors to your website from search engine results pages without using paid advertising, i.e. organic search results. The question here is, why invest time and effort into SEO? Well, what I would say is organic, as I've just mentioned, non-paid search results generally appear more credible to searchers and receive substantially more clicks than paid advertisements. And optimizing your site will help deliver better information to search engines so that the content on your website can be properly indexed and displayed on search engine results pages. So here you'll scream, what can we do about it? Well, I've brought up 5 things on the screen. Let's look at these 5 things that hopefully aren't overly technical. We'll look at website security, the terms that people are searching for, the impact that website images can have on SEO, device types themselves, and then the main search engine. What about your profile, Google? That is, what about your profile there? So the first thing you can check on your website is whether or not it's secure or not secure. Really simple check. It'll either be on HTTPS, I'll say https://www, in which case it's secure. As you can see on the screen, Jacobite Cruises in Loch Ness is on a secure website. And if it's not, it'll be on HTTP. As you can see, a website that I like to use during winter season is Winter Highland. Their website at the moment seems to not be secure. It's on HTTP. You should, if you're still on HTTP, you might want to speak to your web designer or web developer about that, and consider moving to HTTPS as soon as possible. It's said that Google is likely to take secure versus non-secure into account when it comes to ranking, and actually, I would say that a non-secure site is especially bad news in light of COVID. It's expected that there will be a significant, in fact, there has been a significant shift for all types of tourism businesses to online booking as a consequence of COVID, and knowing about how many guests and how many customers and controlling the number of guests you have at any one particular time. Any degree of website insecurity when it comes to online booking and perhaps the use of a credit or debit card is likely to have a negative impact on the visitor experience, and as a consequence on conversion and booking rates. So it's really important to, one other thing then on another aspect of SEO is that it's really important to try and find out what keywords, words and phrases visitors are entering into a search engine when researching their holiday in Scotland, or researching what they want to do in a particular day in your location, especially any keywords that might be related to your business. And in all of this, make sure you're thinking about that phrase there from Think with Google. When Google crawls a page, it should see the page the same way an average user does. Think about that from the perspective of how your website is designed, how it looks to visitors. I've included some tools to help you come up with ideas for keywords. Each of these tools contains helpful research guides to give insights as to how to choose keywords for your website. Once you've carried out some keyword research, find a natural way to use the relevant keywords on your website. Here's a few easy things you can check and set up with your web designer. First of these is title tags. These appear to a website user at the top of your browser, at the top of Chrome, for example, Google Chrome, when you're viewing that web page. And as the title in search results pages, they don't appear on the web page itself. So, for example, the title for title tag for Crieff Hydro Hotel is Crieff Hydro Hotel, Perthshire, Scotland's leading hotel leisure resort. Unique, accurate page titles. Keep them, as I say, concise. Include your primary keyword or keywords if possible. Make them no longer than 70 characters, including spaces. Next, we have meta descriptions. And you can see there, the one for Crieff Hydro is Scotland's leading spa hotel resort, has so much to do, so on and so forth, 60 indoor activities. Sell your content there, make it sound exciting, appealing to potential guests and visitors, and be clear that it's what the user is looking for. Again, include the primary keyword or keywords, and this time around you have up to 160 characters, including spaces. Your next thing would be that your website address and links to pages within your website should be entirely logical and should take visitors to the page they expect to reach. So, for example, that page there that I've put on the screen, crieffhydro.com/special offers, should take me to a page where I can see special offers on Crieff Hydro. If, for example, if I went to that page and there were no special offers there, that is entirely poor web design. That's entirely poor from a user's perspective, from a visitor's perspective. So make sure that when they get to that page, they expect that the URL that they've clicked on is what takes them to what they'll expect to see. Think of terms or phrases that visitors might be using in light of COVID safety. For example, reopening, safety itself, peace, quiet, getaway. There's you can probably think of things that are for your own business, as I mentioned earlier on, reassurance, keywords that are going to make people think actually that's going to be a safe environment for me to visit, or me and my family to visit. So moving on to images, with a subject matter as lovely as Scotland, every tourism business has to include attractive images, guaranteed to inspire any visitor. Images also help search engines understand the content of your website and can have an effect on the overall user experience on your site. Help those search engines to read and understand your images by giving them a clear file name, making sure that the images are relevant to, as I've just been mentioning, to the content in the page, adding alt text for the images so that when you hover over the image, the alt text will appear. For example, in this one, it should actually happen, but it doesn't seem to be working today. But that one, the alt text for that, or alternative text, would be bottlenose dolphins in the Moray Firth, something along those lines. Use keywords in your alt text if possible. Alt text also really helps people that use screen readers and have accessibility issues. Perhaps even add a caption to the image, as you can see there, and try to keep the file size of your images as small as possible without impinging too much on the quality of the images. There's a couple of, I've put there a couple of options for reducing image file sizes on websites, which don't reduce the quality, and that really helps from the perspective of your website loading time, which is what we're coming on to now. The loading time and mobile friendliness of your website has become crucially important, and there are various tests you can run to ensure that your website works on as many devices as possible, but certainly on mobile devices. And Google is now downgrading websites which are not mobile friendly. So there's two tests you can run. There's a mobile friendliness test, and then there's a page speed insights test which you can run, which gives you information on how quickly your website loads and a bit of information on how you can make it quicker. The page speed insights gives you a bit of technical information, so that's maybe something you want to signpost to have a look at it, but then signpost it to your web designer if you're getting a result which you're not satisfied with. Both give you very useful insights into possible ways to improve and enhance your website performance. From the perspective of mobile site speed, you should be aiming for under 3 seconds. And on the note of that, again, a little flag up here for this will all be covered in a user experience webinar on the 21st of June. And as I mentioned, again, you can sign up for that. Find out more details on VisitScotland.org. From May this year, page experience is becoming, or has become, I should say, a ranking factor with Google. So a faster loading website speed will become and has become more important. What I just showed, the little Google test for page speed is the most important test, gives you a high level overview of site speed. Hopefully you should at least get an inkling of whether your site is doing well or not from. You can speak to your web designer perhaps a little bit more if you have a look at or carry out that test. And then finally, moving on to online bookings and increasing your product distribution. Now, a question I always ask here is what can be invisible? And the answer to that is your business can be invisible if you're not promoting it correctly, if it's not displayed in the correct locations. And I should plug our own website here. I should plug VisitScotland.com. I've put in the chat. If you're a tourism business and you don't yet have a free listing on VisitScotland.com, then please feel free to click on the link that I've put in the chat and register for a free listing on VisitScotland.com. There are over 15,000 businesses, tourism businesses listed on the Visit Scotland website. So going on to the thought of online bookings and discoverability, how easy it is for potential guests and visitors to find out about you. Well, I've got a statistic on the screen there, 60%. That is the percentage of consumers who are estimated to now be booking their travel worldwide, who are booking the travel online. And actually, according to ABTA, the figure for the UK is around about 80% of holidays are now completely booked online. So I would ask you, how have you adapted your business to changes in technology, changes in booking behaviour, and actually consumer priorities, especially those that have arisen as a result of COVID? I mentioned the increase in the numbers earlier on, an increase in the numbers of businesses in Scotland that are looking for online booking systems, and the number of customers that are now seeking to make their booking, every aspect of their travel or tourism experience online. A few, in light of that previous slide in the stat, I would say that all tourism businesses in Scotland should have some form of online booking and availability system. COVID-19, I would say, has made the use of such a system a necessity. There's a few examples on the screen here. We've also produced, and I'll put a link just later on in the chat, an interactive booking functionality checklist for experiences. So if you've not yet got a booking system in place and you're a tourism experience, a visitor attraction, a tour or an activity provider, then there's an interactive functionality checklist that we've provided that I'll put a link out to in just a moment. We would estimate that around about between 70 and 80% of accommodation businesses in Scotland are already using an online booking system to take reservations, but far fewer, probably in the region of 30, maybe 40% at a push, of non-accommodation tourism businesses, experiences in the main, have one. And I would say it's especially important from the perspective of capacity control, for making visitors aware of T's and C's that you have, any restrictions around visitors based on where they're coming from, any restrictions in terms of one-way systems or cancellation policies, a contactless payment process, ensuring less face-to-face interactions with staff members and increased safety for them. And then even from a restaurant perspective, online ordering for takeaway. In fact, online ordering when the visitor or the customer arrives in the restaurant. I recently visited the restaurant whereby every aspect of the whole ordering process was done online. So you had to open the restaurant's website and select everything, and then it was brought immediately out to your table, or within 5 minutes. So it's a system that enables a business to display live availability and accept online bookings through their own website. Not just an availability calendar, it actually allows guests to make an online confirmed booking transaction as well. And if you're already doing that, one thing you might want to think about is if your booking system has a channel manager, that allows you to distribute your availability to a much wider list of large websites and online travel agents, as they're known as, and increase your discoverability. Think of them as advertising spaces that you only pay for if you receive businesses from them. Some people mention that some of these websites that are on the screen just now have high commission fees. Well, you only actually pay if you're getting bookings from them. You can spend a lot of money, for example, on Google AdWords or email marketing campaigns, but you don't actually perhaps have a clear idea of how many customers, how many buyers you have from those sources. Whereas with those large online travel agents, you get buyers. They also have you also get the opportunity of people leaving finding you on those websites and thinking, actually, I'd like a look at that business's website, and going to your website from booking.com or finding your website, or finding your details on Airbnb, and then carrying out a search for your business on Google, and then actually thinking, I'll not book on Airbnb, I'll book on that business's own website. A lot of people doing that as well these days. So that's something to bear in mind. One final thing to mention, many booking systems offer a connection to Google Hotel Finder for accommodation, and Reserve with Google for attractions, tours, and activity providers. You can see that the Chocolatarium in Edinburgh has set this up via the booking system that they use, and they can directly sell tickets. At the moment, there's no charge to do that on Google. Google doesn't make a charge for selling your tickets through Google. And finally, I think there's an interactive directory which has been designed. I can put a link again to this to help tourism businesses with tech inspiration ideas. Travel Tech Directory. It gives you more information about the potential tech solutions that are out there, and there's many Scottish-based tech solutions out there as well. There's a list of companies that offer tech solutions, from online booking and ticketing, creating podcasts, app development, and social distancing solutions as well, all on there. I think there's an option called Amazon Explore, which I don't think we've got time to look at today. We're almost out of time. But I'll post a link in the chat to that as well, to Amazon Explore. So time for, I think, Patrick, perhaps a little time for Q&A, just a couple of minutes if we've got any questions. If not, there's some further information and advice, including a link to our the forthcoming webinars that we are hosting in conjunction with DigitalBoost. You can see those at the bottom of the screen there. And those, you can find out more about all of those webinars on VisitScotland.org as well. I think I should also flag up just now, I'll put my webcam back on, but I should also flag up the opportunities to give feedback on this webinar, and you'll see the website address there, and the code for today's session is 118E6. You'll, as I mentioned, I think I put a message out on the chat. You'll also all receive an email straight after this tomorrow. I think it should be going out, which will contain the link to the feedback session, as well as some other handy information. And as Patrick mentioned earlier, we'll have, as soon as this session is finished, you'll get an opportunity to sign up for a free Visit Scotland digital review. It'll appear in your screen straight after the session is finished. Patrick, have we got any questions that we'd like to?
I think it looks like fairly quiet on the question front. So I'll just give you a little bit of time, because sometimes at the end of the webinar, it's then that people think of some questions. The questions don't have to relate specifically to what we've covered off. If there's anything else that you want to put in there, if we're not able to manage to get them in the time slot, because we'll try and keep to the hour as was scheduled for the webinar, we'll respond to you by adding that those answers to the questions on VisitScotland.org. So we'll also be posting a recording of this session. There might be a lot that you feel that we've gone through and you'd like to look at it again. So that recording will be up in roughly about 10 days time. So just reiterating that the upcoming webinars, we're doing a very sort of, I would say it's generic, but really sort of helpful to if you want to have a look at your tourism website, to look at the sort of user experience element of how your website works. And again, it'll be very practical, and a really good practitioner of that is going to present on that on the 21st of June. Reputation, Andrew's already mentioned, has been so important, and one that with COVID and getting that right and engaging with your customers, we're doing a session on that on the 28th. And social media, we'll deep dive into that a little bit more. I know I just touched on some top level elements. We're doing that on the 7th of July. So really good use of analytics and how to look at your various platforms, your website, and maybe even social media. How you get your customers, where do they come from? That's on the 14th of July, and then we're doing a two-parter on SEO if you really feel like getting a lot more information. Again, it'll be practical, but a little bit more technical, and I think it's for those who started the fundamentals and want to move on a little bit more, and those will be at on the 28th, the end of July, and just at the beginning of August. But other than that, it looks like we've got sort of, I think there's one question there. Oh, wow, this is a generic one. Which areas are busiest in Scotland? People I speak to in Fife are quiet. I think talking to all of the businesses and industries, there's clearly some hotspots and some quieter spots, and there's even, without doubt, the urban centres are areas that people are a little bit less confident to visit, and as a result of that, we're putting together some marketing that will help and support and drive some more traffic to that. And again, also around sectors, it's fair to say that that people are more comfortable and confident if they're booking at the moment with self-catering. So where households are appropriate in numbers, their bookings are well. So it's a mixed patch. We're monitoring it on a regular basis. We have an ongoing marketing effort which is wrapped around responsible tourism that's reaching out to the UK. It's all about the UK and the Scottish market, and we will look to switch that on and switch that off and make sure that we're making as much impact as possible. So there is a question there about is there any one-to-one support available? Yes, straight after this, we're going to give you an opportunity to sign up for that and give you a run through on your fundamentals. So do click to that. And the last question is, what is the best way to advertise your business without paying through the nose? And I think it is fair to say that what Andrew went through in terms of optimization, your biggest people search online to research their travel, and the monopolizer of that is Google. So you've really got to be as friendly to Google as possible. So just go over those last few tips that Andrew gave around the basic things about speed, about making sure that you're on Google Knowledge Graph. These are small things, but they all cumulatively add up. As a free tool, that's something that you should look at.